Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Awesome Turkey Gaming, and today I will be going over the question, is Call of Duty World War II worth buying? Essentially I'm just going to be spewing out my opinions into your face, much like the sort of ESO video that I did a while ago. That racked up a lot of views. And of course I will basically be telling you what I think about the game and what maybe you might want to know about Call of Duty World War II. As a sort of preface, this is all kind of based off my experience with the beta, like first-hand experience, and I'm also getting some stuff from like sources such as the Call of Duty World War II campaign trailers and, you know, just the general shit that's been coming out. First of all, I'd like to say that this Call of Duty looks interesting, in the sense that it's not like the first-person shooter typical shit that's been coming out, like the sci-fi Infinity Warfare and Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 4 or whatever it was. All of those new games were interesting to say the least, but they, generally speaking, weren't very well accepted in the community. But what I'm going to try and do for this video and when I'm displaying my opinions is I'm going to try and sort of keep it very honest and uninfluenced, because I haven't seen any opinions from anyone else on this game, apart from maybe the text chat in the actual beta itself, that people are saying, oh, this game is shit, or whatever. And obviously, for the PC community, this game is going to be complete horseshit, and partly it is. So let's get into it. Firstly, my experiences with the Call of Duty World War II beta on PC have been fairly positive. Compared to other Call of Duty betas, of course. I think the last one I played, said this before, was Call of Duty Black Ops 3's beta, I think. And I think that only had one map or something, I don't really remember. However, I think the whole topic of is this good or is this bad sort of comes down to the core gameplay of Call of Duty itself rather than the game. So in a way, I think all the problems with Call of Duty World War II that I've experienced so far and that I've seen so far comes from not because it's a bad game, but because the series has a problem. To basically sum up what I said on my stream a few days ago, I think Call of Duty ended at Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 2. I think after that, even COD 3 was apparently really bad. I never played it personally, but it definitely looked like it had sort of stripped everything down, like even more on a first-person shooter, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And then, you know, after that you got the modern ones, and that sort of created this bandwagon for loads of AAA developers just to make money by making the most simple shit ever. And this, of course, carried on. It's kind of like FIFA, but honestly, FIFA are doing this to a worse extent. Let's just not talk about that. Back to Call of Duty, I think the World War II setting is generally, like, kind of welcoming, but there was something a guy said in the text chat on the World War II beta a few days ago. He said that he doesn't feel like this is a World War II shooter. As a Call of Duty game, this is probably great. I mean, 10-year-old kids running around with guns, shooting as many people as they can. It's probably fun for them. But as a World War II shooter, compare it to games such as Verdun. Verdun isn't a World War II shooter. Okay, forget I said fucks. If you compare this game to games such as Day of Infamy and Day of Defeat, all of the other really big World War II shooters, even the early Call of Duties, I think it's based too much off one of these modern games, and when you move around in this, at least in the beta that I played, it felt like Advanced Warfare. It sounds like Advanced Warfare, it also feels a lot like there should be a double jump. So, again, that sort of comes back to the setting, and people before this game, like before World War II was announced, they kept on saying, oh, Call of Duty is where World War II is, Call of Duty is where Modern Warfare should be, not Infinity Space Wars. But I feel like now the companies, especially Sledgehammer, as a developer, have sort of developed the engine to be based around space and double jumping and space laser gun, rather than this World War II setting. That being said though, it's very fluent. Upon playing the beta, that was probably the first thing I realised. You could pick up a weapon while sprinting or whatever. It's the small sort of things like sprinting and climbing over objects and things. Also this, I'm just watching it back and there's a bayonet charge. That's very Battlefield 1-y. I can't even lie, it looks almost exactly the same. The animation's pretty much the same. Anyway, as I was saying, it's pretty smooth. Also, another one of the things that I was actually really impressed by in the beta was the voice acting. Well, not voice acting, but the voice sort of mechanics. If you hadn't picked it up, or you haven't played the beta yet, there's actually these voice commands that the people say, like, a soldier might say, oh, there's a guy on the roof or something, and there will actually be another player on the roof. So everything that they say really adds to sort of the immersiveness, I guess you could say, of your game, even though it's multiplayer and you might be playing some shitty little mode like Team Deathmatch that has no depth whatsoever. You already get really immersed and really into it by listening to your teammates' voices, like their characters going, oh, there's a guy on the balcony. Then you know, okay, shit, we gotta hide. Guy balcony, let's hide behind this thing and pop out and quick scope his ass or whatever. And I think that hasn't been done before. Now, since we're on the topic of like talking and voice and whatever, from what I've seen in the videos and stuff, for personal opinion, I think it looks very good. I think the campaign probably will be very good. I've seen very little on the new Call of Duties, as you probably know from my from how I'm talking about the most recent ones, like Advanced and Infinity Warfare or whatever. I don't really know too much about them because I didn't. That was sort of the time where I thought, you know what, Call of Duty is not really. It's not a game that I should be playing in the sense that I've matured out of it in a sense. However, from what I've seen in the campaigns, Infinite Warfare and now Call of Duty World War II, the campaigns are really sort of getting more in depth. The CEOs of the development team Sledgehammer, who are developing this game, were talking about how they wanted to follow the role of the soldier and wanted to make you feel like you're not some god who can just spray down thousands and thousands of men with like 2 guns. But rather to, you know, be a soldier who's not incredibly important, who just wants to try and survive the war. And I also saw, I think it's got a large focus on sort of effect on like Jews and whatnot in the Second World War, which is also very interesting, cool, and adds a more mature tone to the Call of Duty series. I've heard people say that there's Battlefield 1 tones on this as well. I agree with that. Definitely. As I've said with the bayonet charge, it's pretty much identical. And why is it called a bayonet charge? It doesn't need to be called a bayonet charge. They could have called it at least something else to make it seem that it's not the same, but it's got the same name, it's literally the same thing. I definitely doubt that the developers have done this on purpose to say, hey, we like Battlefield 1, so we're going to copy them. I think it's probably just a sort of another phase in the sense that these are what modern historical shooters, first-person shooters, are like now. Either way, this does actually feel like a different game to Battlefield, even though the graphics, the bayonet charge, even the skyboxes look very Battlefieldy. It's a different game anyway, and you can definitely feel it. As I said previously, the movement and how quick it is. I've noticed this game is actually very, very quick. Maybe that's just Call of Duty. Now this is where I trail into the Call of Duty problem. This really kind of deserves a whole nother video for itself, but I believe Call of Duty has a problem, an issue, kind of like a disease. I think it all really started off after Call of Duty 3? Yeah, so at Call of Duty 4, the first Modern Warfare game. I found Call of Duty 4 to be a very good game, but only because I was comparing it to recent ones that I played, because I probably got into Call of Duty properly at around Call of Duty Ghosts, which was considered the shit period. The one thing that the Call of Duty community has been probably asking for quite a while now is to take back the olden days, kind of, and have Modern Warfare again, or have as we see what's happening now, historical warfare. Upon playing Call of Duty World War II and hearing all of these complaints, you can see that that clearly isn't the problem. The problem, I think, is with the gameplay model of Call of Duty's multiplayer. They put pretty much so much emphasis on the multiplayer that is all Call of Duty is really recognised for. When you look at the multiplayer on its own, it shouldn't be a paid game. I would not want to pay money for this. And to be honest, it's the same thing with other first-person shooters. Battlefield multiplayer on its own, I might pay something for it because it's large scale and it's amazing. Other things like, I don't know, the Counter-Strike multiplayers, I wouldn't pay really any money for it, because there's nothing that's really worth it in there, if that makes sense. And for Call of Duty, since there is a campaign available when it comes out every year or whatever, I think that's really where the money lies. I said this on stream a few days ago that Call of Duty should have changed a very long time ago, and I think change now won't do anything. Also, the companies have gotten too far, such as, you know, Activision, Sledgehammer, Treyarch, whatever. They've gotten too far into the so-called void that they can't back out of it by change. The only way to back out of it would be to do something that Assassin's Creed is doing, which is to wait, you know, stop a little bit in their cycle and not create a game every single year. That's stupid. Why would you do that? Because essentially you're making the game worse. On purpose. So I shall leave you guys with my opinion and, yeah, what I think you, my viewer, should probably do. I'm going to say no. This game isn't the Call of Duty that I think the fans have been waiting for, and it's definitely not the COD that maybe newer players or players who might have quit a while ago and maybe had a look at this and thought, oh, I don't think it's that game either, that defining game. However, it is a pretty fun multiplayer game so far. I think the World War II beta so far, at the time of recording it's still going on, I think the beta so far is actually fun. And if it was free, or maybe if they did what Rainbow Six Siege did, and you have like a starter pack where you pay, I don't know, was it like $15 or something, which is around £11-ish, to basically just play the multiplayer. I think that would be good, and I might pay money on a sale for the Call of Duty World War II multiplayer. The campaign, on the other hand, may be a different story, because it probably is very good. And if you're wanting to play the campaign, then I would highly recommend singling out the multiplayer and thinking about that as a different thing than the single player. Because the single player, I think, is going to be, hopefully, very, very good and very, very deep. For right now, I would say there are other ways that you could probably play the single player, and that is if you are on PC. I don't know how to say this without not getting monetized. Let's just say websites of a sort can give you a pre-archived version of the game's story. These are, however, all just my opinions. I think I said it at the start. Everything I've said doesn't need to apply to you. You can rebel out and say, no, fuck you, I do what I want. That's alright, that's fine. This game series has gone on for long enough, and I think no one really sort of cares what people say now. If you say Call of Duty is good, that's fine. If you justify it with the campaigns, I would probably agree with you. The campaigns have probably gotten better. I haven't played any of the recent one. However, I think for Activision and Sledgehammer and Treyarch and Infinity Ward? I don't know. The companies that are creating COD, they need to stop for a minute, in my opinion. Yeah, but that should have really been a whole separate thing. Anyway, thank you very much for watching my opinions, listening to my opinions on the Call of Duty World War II beta and the Call of Duty World War II game. I won't be making any videos on Call of Duty ever again, probably, until maybe next year if something interesting happens. Yeah, I don't have a lot of interest for this game at the moment. Honestly, the whole thing just sort of bores me. Even first-person shooters, they just seem to sort of burn me out unless they're special. I think my favourite first-person shooters at the moment is Arma 3, which is more of a military sim, and I'm enjoying horror first-person games as well. When it comes to games like Call of Duty that are, and of course Quake, Doom, Unreal Tournament, games like that, they've really lost my interest at this point, and as I've said before, I feel like I've matured out of it. And maybe the whole gaming community has as well, or maybe it's just me. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I've ranted long enough already. I will see you in the next video.